superhero media, there are a few things that are just guaranteed to get nerds hard. You have the tragic backstory.
I'm going to restore my clan and destroy a certain someone.
You have the zero to hero origin story, or generic hero's journey. And the last one that I've seen is incorporating a sidekick of some kind. Whether it's a sidekick under a main hero, a show about a sidekick, or a show about a group of sidekicks, bang! All of these shows do amazing commercially and also seem to have a higher success rate for good storytelling. But something a part of me just can't help but wonder, why is it that we as an audience tend to love and be attached to these wards, the complements to the story, the assistants, the sidekicks of the plots? Well, today I want to take a look at 3 series and dissect and find out what makes these stories about these sidekicks some of the most beloved parts of superhero media. The DC animated universe isn't the best overall portrayal of the DC universe, I'll admit, by any means, but between the budgeting problems, the mixing of different director and writers' visions, and the persistent pressure to contend with the other works of DC and the MCU have definitely been felt over the series of films. But there's one part of these series of films and even shows that I feel like they get very good, is the development and the showcasing of the second generation of heroes. Specifically in the first half of the DC animated movie universe, we spend a lot of time focusing on the development of the Bat family. And with that comes the main 2 characters I want to look at today in Damian Wayne Robin and Dick Grayson Nightwing. We see the son of Batman become integrated into the universe from his violent childhood at the hands of the League of Shadows, and he's immediately transitioned to becoming the new sidekick for the Bat, and now has to come to deal with the expectations of that as well. Now, I get that Damian Wayne is nowhere near the most liked or most popular Robin, but I think that the writers, when making these movies, took that into consideration and were able to use it to their advantage and create a portrayal of the character that I believe is one of the best that we've seen. Throughout the movie Bad Blood, we can see the effects of Batman reflected in the newfound responsibilities in Damian and Grayson. They've always found themselves in the shadow of the Bat. Whether it's Dick's years as Robin slowly finding himself consumed by the legacy and the mindset that Bruce invites, and as a result, Grayson found himself adopting someone. But after a while, he realized he didn't and could not live a life defined by pain. So to be dragged back into a situation that forces himself to toe the line of loneliness and acceptance of the people around you creates an interesting parallel for the audience to watch with the young Nightwing. One of the things that helps keeps him balanced at this time as Batman is Damian, who in himself is in an ever-persistent internal struggle between accepting the justice of the Bat family and the vengeance instilled in him by the League of Shadows. Seeing this fireball of anger and fury grow to become more accepting of his father's ways despite struggling with the temptation of the Court of Owls, the influence of Talia, and his own blood is a great portrayal of the things that make a number 2 or a sidekick so compelling. It's the nature of taking an individual out of a previously unfortunate situation and introducing them to an established style and culture of an established hero that creates the dichotomy that we often see in sidekick characters. It's the internal conflicts as our young heroes grow into their own characters while being subjected to the ways of their senior heroes that keeps us glued to the screen. But the thing is that that's not necessarily the case in our next investigation of the MCU's sidekicks. The way that Marvel introduces their secondary heroes is in a more natural way than I'd say that DC did. And partially because of that, characters like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are able to portray more storytelling potential to the audiences than other characters. In Falcon and Winter Soldier's show, the main conflict shared between the two is the burden of fulfilling the wishes, legacy, and promises of Captain America. The shoes left to fill by arguably the country's greatest hero was a heavy chip on Bucky and Sam's shoulders that made their journey so interesting. Of course, the aspect of exploring and learning the lives of previous side characters is an aspect of sidekicks that's interesting. Taking a formerly surface level character and developing them into a flourished, fully established protagonist, But I think that the variable that attracted the audience of 10 million people each episode is really the struggle for both characters to live up to those same expectations, while at the same time also convincing themselves that they're even worthy of being associated with the hero's legacy in the first place. Whether it be through Sam's journey to understand that through the mantle, he can help to transform the status of blacks in the country and help rebuild the communities that they may have lost and the lives that they may have had to sacrifice post-snap. And likewise with Bucky's journey to come and accept his mental state in his past for what it is, to build a new life promoting justice and positivity. Through both of these characters' shared journeys and individual arcs, the story is able to introduce them in a way that is kind of minimizing of their potential roles in the story in the future, especially with a character like Captain America, who serves as more of a symbol rather than an actual individual hero himself. It's easier for him to step down in Steve Rogers and hand it off to one of two characters whose stories can be developed and expounded upon for us to care about in the future, giving us more of the final component that I feel like audiences can be so captured by in adaptations of Sidekicks, that being the emotional attachment. Now, I'm definitely not saying that before this show, or aside from this show up until this point of the video, that these other series don't have levels of emotional attachment to the characters. But based on the various conversations I've had about Young Justice and even my own research, even after over a decade after its premiere, people still clearly are passionate and care a lot about the characters in the series and the show itself. And I think this stems from one of the most consistent aspects of young superhero and young sidekick stories, that being the idea of growth. In Young Justice, we start our characters as a clear B team to their superiors of the Justice League. Throughout the seasons, we of course see our cast develop their strengths, maturity, and responsibility episode by episode, all the way to becoming full Justice League members for some getting married, and some just becoming full-fledged adults just like the audience watching the show. Which, in all actuality, is a very interesting and high-risk, high-reward approach for having characters grow with the audience, only seen in shows of the likes of Boy Meets World. But still, I don't think that is the final clue. That is the piece of the puzzle that we're really looking for as to what really gets us attached to these characters like we do. That final thing, I think, going a little bit deeper into the approach of storytelling that Young Justice decides to do. Early in the series, the show decides to let us focus on each of the inner conflicts of our main cast in kind of a microcosm separate from the rest of the group before revealing their backstories, their feelings, and insecurities to each other. This allows the audience to fully learn our characters while incorporating dramatic irony of the anticipation of the rest of the cast learning the secrets of our characters that we're already privy to. But also, it allows for the show to build natural relationships through the various missions, experiences, and carefree interactions between the cast before more serious, heartfelt, and revealing episodes like Bereft, Failsafe, and Disordered. By giving not only characters in universe but also the audience the time to learn who these characters are without getting told, hey, there's Artemis's backstory, please care about her. That style of storytelling compounded over the season since, focusing on different aspects of the world that Young Justice has created, allows for people to care about these characters beyond their sidekick status. Even further than just the cast on a surface level, but to such an extent that makes us love these sidekicks and their stories just like they're the star of the show. I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you have a good day. Hope that you leave a like. Hope that you subscribe for more. And I will catch you guys later.